This is Alex Corey and Ashley DeMarco. They're both from Asheville area, Weaverville, and they are co-owners of Vital Flow Water. And they're going to talk to us today about what they taught me about, which I had kind of been introduced to over the years, but really didn't know what it was. So they have been a big part of my life, and my family has seen some big changes with this water. So I'm going to let them tell you all about it.
You can go for it. I'm going to make sure you look good.
Alright. So we're going to just show you a little clip.
On average, the human body is 70 to 75% water, the key nutrient every cell relies on to survive. We can survive for 3 weeks without food, but without water, we can't survive more than 3 days. In many ways, we are water. Our lungs are 83% water. The brain and heart are 73% water. Plasma, the liquid portion of our blood that carries blood cells, nutrients, and hormones throughout the body, is 90% water. Water is life, but not all water is created equal.
We know that full well when considering cities like Flint, Michigan, and clean water initiatives in developing countries, but if we're not being noticeably negatively affected, we tend to not think about the quality and content of the water that we're consuming. Well, think about this. Our municipal water supply is significantly contaminated and commonly compromised by industrial waste, agricultural waste, human waste, fluoride, chlorine, atrazine, just to name a few contaminants and chemicals that come out of our tap. Now, many who are aware of this choose to drink, prepare food, and even brush their teeth with plastic bottled water. Unfortunately, plastic bottled water presents a plethora of problems. Here are a few. The production and manufacturing of bottled water is largely unregulated, which is a health hazard for anyone drinking from these bottles. And we now know that a large percent of bottled water is actually just tap water that's been reprocessed. Well, reprocessed, bottled, and sold at more than 3,000 times the cost of tap water.
Now back to the health hazard. In a test of 259 bottled waters sold around the world, 93% of them contained microplastics, including top brands like Aquafina, Dasani, Evian, Nestle Pure Life, San Pellegrino, and others. While micro sounds small, many of these plastics were visible to the human eye without microscope or magnifying glass. Further, the chemicals in plastic bottles that leach into the bottled water as they're exposed to time and heat are implicated in the obesity epidemic, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, reproductive problems, and neural problems like attention deficit disorder. And beyond that, there's a correlation between exposure to these plastic pollutants and non-communicable diseases. And these are just consequences for the people consuming plastic bottled water. But what about our planet?
We are in the midst of a single-use plastic epidemic. 79% of all plastic ever produced, which can last for centuries, ends up scattered about our beautiful planet, in landfills, and in our oceans. Our oceans are full of plastic. The largest of 5 main gyres in our oceans is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which is 1.6 million square miles. To put that in context, that's 2 times the size of Texas and 3 times the size of France. All of this plastic pollution is devastating our global ecosystem, decreasing our quality of life, and threatening our way of life as we know it. So, what can you do about all of this? Well, if you want access to not only clean water, but the healthiest, most hydrating living water in the comfort of your home or with you as you travel, if you want to eliminate your contribution to the single-use plastic epidemic by removing plastic bottled water, household cleaning supplies, toiletries, and beauty products, all while saving money, well, then we'd like to introduce you to your brand new K8.
Organic versus not. Most people here buy organic or try to buy organic. Okay. Awesome. I'm going to get into this presentation. All right, so who are we? I am a mom of two. I found this 4 years ago. I was pregnant with my daughter. I was extremely healthy. I was a plant-based chef at the time. Been teaching yoga for 8 years, meditation, mindfulness. I was doing everything I was taught to be healthy during pregnancy, and I was extremely sick. I was like, I couldn't keep food down. I lost 25 pounds in my first trimester. And my neighbor, I moved to a new location. My neighbor offered me the water. And it was the first time in about 6 weeks that I kept food down. And I was just like, no, how can this be? Like, I'm drinking, at the time I had like the mega Berkey, like what everybody says, again, buy this nice $600 Berkey and it will be the best thing you ever had. Well, I was drinking it, didn't do anything, right? Tried the water, kept food down. And that was just like, I just became addicted to it. You know, you hear a lot of times people say like, I have a pregnancy craving. My pregnancy craving was water. I just was obsessed with it. I drank so much of it my whole pregnancy and ended up having like the best home birth, delivery, easy, ecstatic birth. Have you ever heard of that? It exists. I had it. I truly believe the water allowed me to not only change the actual structure of my body, because I got to see my digestion enhance, my sleep enhance, my energy come back. My brain health was the biggest thing though. I have been working with all sorts of modalities, natural and pharmaceutical, with anxiety for so long. And this has actually been the number one thing that helps me sustain an even keel balance in my brain. And so we designed the presentation today to really like teach you about getting our resources back: money, energy, and time. Does anybody want more energy, more money, or more time? I think we all do, right? Does anybody not want that? Okay. I'll let Alex introduce himself and share.
Alex Corey. Basically just a health nut. So I'm a research nerd and health coach, farmer. That's Michelle and I share a common. I was just admiring the greenhouse when we were walking in earlier. I found this through microgreens, baby version of any real vegetable, and our business partner, who's now in Thailand, and I had a microgreen farm, and we started using ionized water just to water everything. And one of the real interesting things we'll go over that diverges from the health aspects of water is one of the main things this can do is it's got a 2.5 button on it, and that produces the same compound as our white blood cells, which is hypochlorous acid, or almost identical to it, but it's non-toxic, which is, we'll explain that later. We are using that for the microgreens because it replaces basically any disinfectant product. So I came to it from a more non-health approach at first, more of the agricultural approach, and then just started diving down the filtration rabbit hole and all of the different, I'm just a data person. So I come to it from there's no objectively best water, but it's pretty close based on what we compare. So we're going to introduce filtration and the ionization technology and how we paired them together for basically any situation.
So before I got into this, I just dealt with tons of clients in the health industry, and when they asked me what water to drink, I just said clean water. Just thought filtered water, right? Just don't drink tap, drink something that's filtered. And so I bought probably $6,000 worth of filters. I had the Brita, the Berkey, the RO devices, the remineralization, all these different ones, and I started doing my own testing, and I was like, you know what? Started asking myself these questions. What am I going to spend money on now that will save me money in the future? Because I wish I would have known about this before I bought all the other filters that I invested in. So I own a tiny home retreat, and I have not purchased a cleaning product for that tiny home since we launched it. We've had over 280 guests years, and not one time have I purchased one cleaning product. No laundry soap, no cleaning, nothing. I use everything from that machine, which sits in the counter in our tiny home. This 11.5, it's so strong alkalized that will actually emulsify the pesticides right off your produce. So why I asked you guys if you eat organic, I'm not sure if you know this, but since 2020, you are now spending 40% higher than somebody buying conventional. So if you're already spending the extra money, 40% higher times a year of buying groceries is on average $5,000 to $12,000 per family. So I have a family of 4. I'm definitely spending at least $8,000 more than people not buying organic. Why does this matter? Well, most of you are probably buying organic and washing it in your tap water because that's just what we do. We wash it off, right? But I didn't really realize that oil-based pesticides do not come off in tap water, right? Oil and water don't mix. So this water is so strong though that it will actually emulsify those oils right off your produce. So I use this almost daily to wash all of my produce. I use it for all of my laundry detergent, and I have 2 small kids that definitely have a ton of stained clothes. So we do all of our stain removers with this 11.5. It can be used as a melatonin releaser at night. You can take a little shot of it, give it to your kids who don't sleep well. There's a plethora of things, as you can see it does. This is really, really good for salad dressings. It also tenderizes meat. So if you guys like to cook in the kitchen, this gadget will be like that thing that you're constantly using, right? You're going to use it to make all your pastas, your meat, your rice, everything, your beans, everything you will cook in this water. It replaces 401 degreaser, and this is what we have in all of the restaurants that own these machines. They don't use any degreasers anymore. They just use the 11.5. So, you know, when we talk about the multiple uses of this machine, Michelle like coined the term pH factory in your own home. It's just so amazing to see, like, I can use this 6.0 on my windows, my hardwood floors, my mirrors, and it's now my skin regimen. So I don't buy any skincare products at all anymore. I don't even buy hair care products anymore. You know, there's all these videos of like these women with their like 6,000 products for their skincare. I was always joking, like, I'll just do one, like, here's my routine. It's just literally water. And I just grab it from my machine and spray it. It's 6.0. It's the same pH as rainwater. So if you guys are into growing plants, our plants absolutely love this 6.0. It is
it's the same pH of rainwater without the contamination added to rainwater.
That's true. Yeah. So there's 2 streams. When you turn on this machine, you're going to have the top stream, which is always going to be your H2 water, and the bottom stream, which is
there's a hose behind it. You can't see that's facing the sink.
Your oxygenated water. So that oxygenated water gives you a range of these pHs when you're pulling off the drinking water. So what can you do with those? Well, we literally just fill different jugs of it, and we use it for cleaning our floors, watering our plants, again, washing our skin. I have a client that completely replaced all of his car detail products. He had like 30 products that he replaced just with one water type. So again, we're just showing you, with walking you through all these uses, how many things you're already buying that this will replace. This is what Alex was just talking about. How he came into this industry was through this type of water. His business partner, Justin, was buying these 1-gallon jugs of this hypochlorous acid for farming. I think it was $60 a gallon.
It's more than that, yeah.
Or 75
Xeritol, usually hydrogen product,
and it's
commercial
diluted
grade stuff, right?
So it's like $70 for a gallon of it, and it's diluted. Now he just makes it. This is so strong, it will kill MRSA, E. coli, and staph in 30 seconds. Yep. So I now have a tribe in Africa who's now about to use this to sanitize an entire village of kids' oral health. Because if they just spray this in their mouths twice a day, it will literally cut back bacteria so much that they can save lives, guys. Like, we're in the US, we're pretty blessed. We don't hear a lot of kids dying from oral disease, but in Africa, it's all day, every day. So incredible that we can buy one machine for an entire village that will sanitize hundreds of kids a day. It's absolutely incredible. And again, like I said, I sanitized my entire house and our Airbnb with this 2.5.
So how this works, I'll give you a little context. We'll go over electrolysis in a little bit, but essentially filter, and then it comes in, and there's 8 titanium and platinum medical grade plates in this. They get electrified, and it splits the water molecule apart. This tank is basically a specific concentration of non-iodized table salt, sodium chloride. So it gets the chlorous part, gets the chlorine from salt. It electrolyzes and blows salt apart and fuses the chlorine to hydrogen and oxygen, and you get the same compound your white blood cells make. So that's why it can kill MRSA and staph and E. coli in 30 seconds. And the FDA is like, this is a legit cleaner because it passes the test. It has to, I think the requirement is that it has to kill those 4 big ones in 30 seconds to be labeled as such.
A disinfectant, yeah. And, you know, we've had incredible applications of this. We had a hemp farm almost lose $250,000 worth of crop, and we were able to go in. Normally when you're spraying something that's a disinfectant in a greenhouse situation, a lot of like staff and everybody has to leave, even if it's non-toxic, whereas this is something can be sprayed and people can be working in there.
Kills mites.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. I just heard of an entire fleet of police cars, ambulances, and fire trucks that are now using it just to sanitize the inside of their trucks. Between so quick and easy, right? You can just put it in a sprayer bottle and get it out there. So again, here are some of the other uses. I've used this so many times. I would say my machine paid off 2 days after I got it. My 3-year-old at the time got chicken pox, and I just used this water every 2 hours. I blotched the spots with 2.5, and I mean, he was healed within 24 hours of seeing the first spot, and I never even had to take him to the doctor. I mean, it's just the amount of things that you can try it on. I would say, like, try it on everything. If it works, then you don't have to buy the other thing that you used to buy.
So it produces everything your body produces. So it's not magic. It just accelerates everything your body is going to do naturally, like chicken pox. So your body will take care of it. But we'll get into the power of hydrogen. So we're talking about the power of hydrochloric acid right now for the sort of the infection fighting process or the inflammation process. Eczema is a pretty big one of those.
Yeah, eczema has been one of the biggest skin diseases, I guess, is conditions that we've seen clear up using not only this device but our shower device as well. My daughter actually had a gluten reaction, and we used the 2.5 and the 11.5 to clear up the eczema rashes on her. And then there's a lot of things that will happen internally too. So here's just some pictures of some acne. I really highly suggest that people try more natural approaches before, you know, going the pharmaceutical route with skin conditions. But unfortunately, if you go to a Western medicine doctor nowadays, I just did this just to test it out. I'm like, I wonder if it's changed. They always push topical or pharmaceutical medication instead of just saying, like, let's clean up your diet, or let's see if, you know, you're eating too much sugar or something like that. Whereas when we see people starting to drink this, it's a natural detox that happens. Does anybody buy coffee in here? Anybody? Yeah. Coffee? People buy coffee. Do you guys buy energy drinks? No, nobody buys energy drinks. What about soda?
I'll give you carbonation.
Carbonation. One of these is carbonated. I think that one's carbonated. Yeah. Okay, so sometimes you guys buy stuff, but most of you buy coffee, right? So I'm not sure if you know this, but just 10 ounces of coffee removes 12 ounces of water from the body. So a lot of people don't realize when you're thirsty and you grab something that's not water, coffee, sugar, alcohol, it's actually dehydrating you even further. And, you know, I'm not saying never eat acidic things. I'm just saying be aware of when you are doing that, you might want to be drinking lots of water before you drink that coffee. So many ways that we lose water. Obviously, through those drinks that I just talked about, stress is the #1 cause of disease, but it's also a way that we lose water. We lose water through elimination, digestion, every time we breathe, and every time we sweat. So we're constantly losing water throughout the day. Sorry
That's
about
that
that.
video.
So, you know, when I heard this saying, I was just like, again, before I tried it, I was like, is it really true? Change your water, change your life. And now I'm definitely walking proof of that. We kind of went over this already, but I just want to touch base again. Tap water is not the best option for us. Bottled water. We have all of these bottles here. We're going to show you in a little bit the tests of the pH, the energy potential. Most of these bottles, I haven't tested these specifically today, but I've tested them in the past, and they're all stealing our energy, right? And then reverse osmosis has been sold for probably the last 30 years as the #1 filter. People go and you Google it, and it's all these RO devices. They were actually invented for agriculture to make, you know, farming cleaner, but it's not intended for long-term use because we actually need minerals in our water, and reverse osmosis strips all minerals from the water.
It's a great purification technology. It's not a great hydration technology. So it gives you stripped clean water, but you actually don't, your body needs more than stripped clean water. Yeah. RO by itself does not.
But our systems have like different stuff. You know, like RO doesn't, but then they have minerals back in because otherwise water goes better.
If you get one, yes, some don't. Some are just water. But usually, say that again.
I have never seen. I've looked at a lot of systems because you
Yeah.
have RO in the restaurant.
Yeah, I saw that.
I've never seen a system that doesn't have minerals back in because that water doesn't fit.
I had one about 2 years ago, and that's the problem with the reservoir. Usually the remineralization process is potassium bicarbonate, which is an electrolyte, but you need more than potassium for human health. But correct, it usually gives you a potassium bicarbonate or a calcium bicarbonate, and sometimes you're missing all of the electrolytes. It gives you one of them usually to count for remineralization, so better than stripping completely.
But aren't they normally synthetic?
It's not the same format you would find in nature, which is part of the issue with absorption. Yeah. It's the cheap way to do it.
So we went over this in the beginning, but just for video's sake, these are some of the contaminants in the system, in the water system here. And why I'm showing you them is because we found a filter, which is that silver bullet right there. That is called Multi-Pure. The company is out of the US, and this is just, again, these are actual studies that I just pulled up. They just got released in 2024. There's about 4 countries, France, Germany, I think Spain, and maybe Norway, all did very similar studies. And they all found that, you know, bottled water is actually hundreds of times worse than we originally thought. There were more microplastics than they could, 240,000 microplastics per liter. So this is why, one of the biggest reasons I am obsessed with getting people to stop drinking this is fertility is one of the biggest reasons. My sister's in her naturopathic school right now, and she's learning about petrochemicals and the effects of microplastics in the placentas and growing babies and things like that. And the studies are just, I mean, they'll make, I cried for days listening to that. I wouldn't send you in that direction to read it because it's actually really depressing, but I just want to show you again, like, US isn't doing the studies, but other countries are, to just prove, like, please stop drinking this and get your friends to stop drinking the bottled water, because we just really don't want people having not only all of the inorganic contaminants in the water, but the microplastics. They're like, some of those things we can flush out, right? We can do detoxes, heavy metal detoxes and things like that. But microplastics is one of those things that's probably going to be there and start wreaking havoc on our health a lot earlier. And this is why I believe we've seen such a massive rate in childhood disease in the last 10 years.
It's a hormone disruptor. So it just plugs into estrogen receptors and everything, testosterone receptors. So both sexes, fertility. Almost all of these are endocrine disruptors because that system is the most sensitive in the human body. So everything tends to affect fertility. And we'll give you a video on this, but essentially it's really annoying to have to worry about individual contaminants because there's, like, this region knows PFOAs, PFOS, and that specific one. That's one of 65 that are equally as bad. So the reason we went with this one is because they're, that number 4, tested and verified by NSF International, there are 23,000 different filtration companies, and it's exhausting. So we just show people how to look up specific filters and what they're proven to do. So this is why we go with MultiPure, because they're the only one that have the combination to reduce or remove everything that NSF tests for. RO is a totally different category, but again, you kind of want minerals, and for ionization process of splitting the water molecule apart, for conductivity you need minerals in there. Usually calcium is the main one. So we chose them so we didn't have to worry about constantly updating. That's just a solid piece of compacted carbon block, which is different than Berkey, which uses granulated activated carbon. If you look through filters, you might see like GAC, granulated activated carbon, which is different than compacted carbon. So that's a chunk of carbon. And to speak to the different stages that Anastasia mentioned, you'll see on websites 10-stage filtration, 4-stage filtration, and they'll describe it in proprietary language. It really doesn't matter. That's why we go with third-party testing. It's like, does it remove it at the end or not? So we try to simplify it as much as possible. And the key for us is keeping flow rate. Now, Berkeys are fun just because you have to fill them. Like we still have Berkeys for like backup survival stuff, but you can't ionize a Berkey, so you can't get the energy back. And reverse osmosis systems oftentimes don't have the flow rate. I couldn't use it with mine because it didn't produce the flow rate necessary for this, nor have the minerals necessary for conductivity. So this is kind of the perfect pair to ionization tech, and is the only one that's NSF certified for almost everything you care about, and probably the new ones. There's one that I won't bore you with, but it's the new and emerging contaminants category, which is industrial stuff, pharmaceuticals, hormones, the stuff that sometimes doesn't make the news stories. And that's the one that constantly gets things piled into it. And this is that category certified, which is nice.
I'm just going to play a little video from one of the corporate staff at this company.
5, depending on where you live, arsenic is going to be a very real contaminant in your life. PCBs, incredibly difficult to take out. Therefore, only 22 of the 20,000 products listed by NSF can actually protect you from PCB. And then PFOA and PFOS, this number is going to go up just because this certification, PFOA, PFOS, is a relatively new certification. So we'll see more and more companies certified. So I expect to see that number actually go up because it is not as difficult to take out as PCB. So we'll do a little experiment here. For those of you who are new to MultiPure, this is kind of a little demonstration that we run showing how important it is to look at the details of certification and how important it is that we now think about the bigger picture of what is going to give me the most protection. So again, looking back at this list, now if we are going to start combining contaminants, and in most cities, they're not just worried about one single contaminant. There's 2, 3, 4, 5 contaminants that you could potentially be contaminated by, or there might be something new that comes down that you weren't aware of before. So as we start combining contaminants on the NSF website, when we look at this, we combine system lead, and of the 20,000 products certified by NSF, 1,000 of them 1,000 of them are certified for the combination of cyst and lead. And I did get a request for clarification here. I did say 20,000. There are 20,000 products certified by NSF for water treatment. And of those 20,000 products, 1,000 are certified to take out cyst, the combination of cyst and lead. Add mercury to the mix, and the number drops down to 580. You add asbestos fibers to the mix, and now we're down to 240 of the 20,000 products available on the market today. You add VOCs, things like pesticides and herbicides, are down to 119. MTBE, the formerly popular gasoline additive, 81 of the 20,000 products are certified to protect you from this broad range of contaminants. You add PCBs, MTBE, chloramine, arsenic 5, you're down to 7 products. And finally, you add perfluorinated compounds, the forever chemicals, and microsystems. You're down to one single product of the 20,000 available as certified by NSF. And that one product is, of course, a multipure. And I believe all 7 of these are also actually multipure.
That's why we want a multipure.
It's taken, again, like a long time, right, to learn this stuff because we had to do our own testing. And again, you know, all of the Berkey lawsuits and now the Brita lawsuits, they're all done by a human who's like, okay, you sold me this product. It says that it's 3,000 gallons is the, you know, filtration rate, but it's tapping out at 30. So this is what I'm saying is, like, in this country, it seems that in order to get something removed, we have to sort of...
Yeah, you got to sue someone.
Yep. You know? And so, again, that takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of testing. Just to get one of these water tests for all of these things is over $900 if you were to just test your own city municipal water system. So, again, you know, this product is $650. So when someone's looking at me and they're like, well, what do I do? I'm like, well, you can get it tested for $850, and that's going to show you that you need it, or you can just buy the filter, right? It's $650. That there's a filter replacement inside of it. It lasts 1,200 gallons. So if for a family of 4, that's around 9 to 12 months. Every 9 to 12 months, you're going to replace your filter.
Once everything's perfectly organized.
All right, let's go back.
The Berkey thing, I have mixed feelings about Berkey. I'm actually glad they got class action because you're supposed to scrub the carbon filter every month. 0 people do that. I maybe did it every 2 months. But you can detect the flow rate go down and the smell starts to change. It's still a good survival tool because it's actually really good at getting rid of the microbial stuff, like the pathogens. But you can smell things changing. So it's not that the technology is bad, it's just inconsistent. Like from Berkey to Berkey, totally different. And the test they did found that it was tapping out at some of the easier ones at like 25 gallons, which is chloramine, hexavalent chromium, nitrates, like some of the ones that we showed you on the Tapwater report. Those are really prevalent. And after like 50 gallons, it was halving the amount that it took out, which is, if you're claiming 1,200 gallons, that's why they got class action. That's just false advertising. Yeah.
So we won't go into like the specifics of this, but there's 3 parts in each filter. And this company is out of Vegas. They've been in existence for 54 years, and they are the leaders and the inventors of condensed carbon black technology.
And they don't market, which is why you don't hear about them. So Berkey is great, the best at marketing. He's plastered everywhere. But these guys don't market, so we market for them. And usually people don't know their name, but they happen to also be the best in certified filtration tech.
And I just love that it's in stainless steel, because all these other filters, again, RO, they're most of the time plastic. And so one of the tests we had done shows that, you know, when we're running the water through our machine here, it's coming up with higher sodium, higher magnesium, higher calcium, and higher potassium. And it was actually removing without, this was actually a test done without the multipure. It was actually removing aluminum, fluoride, and all of these different contaminants through the acid hose. Now, reason why we want you to pair these 2 products together, especially if you're on city municipal water systems, so you can use both taps, right? You can use the alkaline hose and the acid hose, whereas if you didn't have that bottom,
There's a filter in this, so it does have a filter, but the filter was not created with new industrial and like pharmaceuticals, all the stuff that's in the United States supply is created in Japan, and they just might not have the same contaminants. So if there's a new contaminant like PFAs that slips through, the ionization tech, if you're running electricity across it, that applies to anything that hits it. So you're going to change the charge on any molecule. So we put the pre-filter there so there is nothing other than minerals getting through.
Has anybody in the room ever heard of Dr. Emoto? So again, if you really like this presentation, you want to go further into water, he talks about, you know, that water holds all memory, and that, you know, the things that we say to water matter. So he did all of these tests for many, many years, saying very negative things. This is really blurry, but he said, you know, you're ugly, you know, you're not enough, all the things that you could say negatively to somebody or yourself. And then he said all these very positive things to water. Well, then he tested the water through a microscope to see the crystalline structure. And the crystalline structure for everything that was like positive vibes was really beautiful structures. And everything that was really negative was like these incongruent, very like you know, no sacred geometry to it. And so this has been like one of my, you know, really, really passionate parts of the spiritual part of water. If you really want to go there, there are a ton of books I can recommend. But again, if you want to get into memory and ancestry and learning like why water is so important to our DNA and all these things, like this guy has a ton of research, and he has a few proteges that are doing his work for him now. He's since passed, but
Veda Austin, I
yeah,
think.
she's incredible.
This is the energetics of water. So we think about filtration as the mechanical blunt force particles, what's in it. And then once we get into ionization and restructuring, we start talking about energy and memory and water as an information store. So it's kind of a demarcation between the sort of the quantum realm and the like Newtonian billiard ball, just a bit of a shift, but it's all in water. And Dr. Catherine Clinton is doing a lot of research with Veda Austin on the sort of the quantum effects of water and how it plays with your DNA and absorbs light and all of that.
So where does this machine come from? A lot of people are like, well, it's not natural. It actually is mimicked off all of these miracle waters in the world. And for something to be called miracle water, it has to have healed over 100 people or more. I think the regulations have just changed, and it's all the diseases. It's cancer, arthritis, all these different things. So people go to these places, they collect water, and they have massive healing revelations. And so why this was invented was to mimic those springs. And so Alex got into this a little bit, but this is what's happening, this white machine here. It's electrolysis. As you can see, the electricity is splitting the hydrogen from the oxygen molecule. So you're going to get two streams of water.
So it takes a good amount of energy to break water apart. So that's what these are doing. And the reason this specific machine is kind of the longest lasting and been around for 50 years is because it doesn't go too hard. So you can add too much electricity and burn out the plates and they start corroding, or a lot of competitors don't use enough electricity, so you actually get a very small amount of hydrogen. So it's a good middle ground, and they haven't really changed the technology since it was invented.
Yeah. I like to tell people, like, you're going to see other ionizers on the market on Amazon and all these things, but they don't. Our company has a patent on this material. There's no one, and after listening to Oshiro's birthday speech, there's no one. He's like, there is no one who will ever create anything like this because of how much he's put. This is a Japanese man. He's 83 years old who owns this company. But the plates are made out of stainless steel titanium, double dipped in platinum. They're what our medical utensils are made out of. If someone, if you're in a hospital setting. So again, it's the best plates that there are. And like Alex said, the difference in electricity among all of the different other competitors is a huge thing. So one of my biggest things is helping people. I really, really want to serve people. I want to make people healthy. And one of the biggest ways that I believe we can make people healthy is to get them to start preventing disease. Start thinking preventatively about everything. Like, how can I speak better to myself? If I know that water holds memory, right? And I know that if I say positive things to this vase of water with flowers in it, and the flowers are so happy, then it's the same thing with my body. If I'm 75% water and I start speaking to my body like it's this beautiful mechanism of light and love, right? It's going to have a lot more positive effects in the world than if you are constantly doing what most people do, which is the self-criticism. I'm not enough. I don't have enough. I'm not worthy enough. So one of the biggest things when I researched about health about I would say over 12 years ago, was acidic stress. So I was combating that, right? I took people from their acidic diets and moved them to plant-based so I could get them to alkalize their bodies, right? And get all of that acidic stress, you know, sugar, corn, animal proteins, emotional stress, all of those things to subside so that they could actually have better digestion, better energy. Now there's oxidative stress, which is actually what happens from acidic stress.
I would say that's the big one of everything. So all of the data is tied to oxidative stress.
And then 75% of the population is dehydrated. No doubt. I talked to my anthroposophical medicine doctor and my acupuncturist. She's done her entire thesis on dehydration in like old folks' homes. So she studied over 3,000 patients, and she over and over and over, the patients were dying of dehydration. They were not dying of the disease. They were dying of dehydration. And she was actually able to start differentiating this in their charts, because when people were actually coming in, there was a big study and it got completely erased from the internet. And I'm sorry, I don't have it to show you, but during COVID, there was actually multiple doctors studying the hydration levels of their patients when they came in. If someone had really low dehydration, they were extremely dehydrated, their symptoms were extremely compounded. If they were just to give them high levels of hydration, get them on IVs, their symptoms were to subside without any other intervention. So I just think that most people are chronically dehydrated because, again, it's year after year after year. And even if you think you're drinking a lot of water, you might not be absorbing it, which we're going to get into here in a second. So like I said before, my brain health was the biggest thing that was impacted by this. And I think it's because, you know, 80% of our brain is made of water, but our brain doesn't hold water, right? So it's constantly circulating that energy, and you know, just a 1% drop in your hydration will lower your memory and your attention by, like, I don't have the slide here, but what was it? It was like 40%.
Yeah, it was 20-40%.
Yeah, it was. So just a 1% drop in dehydration. So again, when people feel thirsty, they usually go get coffee, like, I need energy, right? But then if we know that coffee is taking more water from the body, it's just this compounding effect. So we really want to get people understanding that this is actually the original energy drink. And if we were to drink this, I don't need any caffeine at all. I love this. I drink this to replace all coffee and anything like that. But all of the studies on molecular hydrogen show that it improves concentration, it helps balance your mood and emotions, it's going to help maintain a healthy memory function, increases blood flow, and prevents and relieves headaches and memory loss.
So I don't know if we mentioned that specific term. That is kind of the similar source found in all of those miracle water places. They measured them. Molecular hydrogen is what all of the studies are on. So if you type in on any Google Scholar or PubMed, either electrolyzed reduced water, which is the technical name for this, or molecular hydrogen, which is the active component. It's a gas. It's just a medical therapeutic gas. That is what is doing all of the magic inside of the body, and your body makes it naturally, but your microbiome makes it, and most people's microbiomes are a little off kilter today. So if you can, there's a number of different ways of getting hydrogen in, but if you're trying to differentiate between alkaline and alkaline ionized, all of the different terms, molecular hydrogen is kind of the thing to go for.
So this is kind of going to get sciencey, but while Alex goes through some of these slides, I'm going to...
We don't have to go over all.
You don't have to.
Essentially, molecular hydrogen, which is a gas, is going to neutralize the hydroxyl radical, which is the most inflammatory radical in the body. So that hydrogen gas will split off and neutralize two different, by neutralize, you mean make water again. So the hydrogen gas is being used simply to repair broken molecules, and it'll either make water or put them back to their undamaged form. And this is just from metabolism, from your body producing energy, you create waste. So you're putting in more waste fighting material than you are creating waste, just with the water. And this was happening naturally before water was contaminated and water had more hydrogen, free hydrogen in it. The question we get probably the most, especially in Asheville, because it's a spiritual center, is why doesn't spring water do this? This is a technology, like she mentioned before. We've always just gone and gotten spring water. The water cycle is a little more interesting than it might have been 100 years ago prior to industry, and we haven't found a water source in Asheville in the middle of the woods or anywhere that has the same energy content. We measure energy content with a oxidation reduction potential meter, which is simply, reduction is the putting back of energy, so that's donating an electron, that's giving you energy back, and oxidation is aging. So if you cut an apple in half, if we kept that initial video going that we had at the very beginning, that an apple being cut in half, you leave it open, it's going to brown. That's oxidation. That's what's happening inside your body all the time. So reduction is the fighting of that. Actually, there's Michelle, if you want to. So we can measure a substance's ability to give you energy or take it. And that's kind of the end all of what we like to measure, because we'll demonstrate that pH is a little bit gimmicky, even though it has some higher pH does tend to leave the gut faster, so it absorbs a little faster than more acidic water. But you can also have energized water that is neutral. So pH alone isn't the best thing to go off of.
So this is, like Alex was saying, this is called an ORP meter. And so this is the Wilmington Tapwater. It's on that scale, which I think I have one here.
0 would be neutral, which we've never found anything that's actually neutral. And negative will be reducing, which means it's going to give you energy back. If you're going to drink water, ideally, your cells only accept water that's negatively charged through a channel called an aquaporin, which is the water channel, because your cells are made of fat on the outside. So you need a channel to get water through. It's hydrophilic. It likes negatively charged water. Yeah.
So I just want to show you, this water is, the Wilmington Tapwater. It's 531. And then we just put the Wilmington Tapwater through the filter and the Kangen machine. As you can see, it drops already to negative 600.
So this is millivolts. So that's what your cells operate in millivolts.
So it went from plus 500 to negative 500. So what is that doing, Alex? Like how many, that's so much more hydroxyl ions.
Right, so pH is a logarithmic scale. So 0 to 14, if you remember high school chemistry or biology or whatever. And 7 would be neutral. Each time you go up or down one, it's a 10x or either way. So if you have a difference of 4 on the pH scale, that's 10,000. 4 zeros, 10,000 times. So 4 pH, if you're drinking that, is 10,000 times more acidic than neutral. So if you can get above 7, that's a lot of millivolts. So if you're thinking on electrical charge, you're getting a lot of energy back, which is why you can actually feel it. Most of the time, people don't like or don't work so well as I do off of just straight data. Right? It doesn't matter. It's like I want to feel it. So usually what we have people do is just drink the water for like a week and usually feel it after about 20 minutes. And yeah, we should actually give everyone water. We have paper cups here if anyone wants water.
So, I'm just testing the ORP of these bottles. A lot of the time people like to drink carbonation, and this is plus 450. This one's plus 350. So as you can see, like people are buying this stuff and it's just stealing their energy. Like every single one of these bottles is over 250, you know? And so, I mean, Aquafina is probably...
You're not going to die. It's still going to hydrate. Your body will get the water, but what's the water coming with is the point.
Yeah. I mean, it just keeps getting worse and worse. And then we have good old Essentia that's marketed as alkaline, right? It says 9.5 pH on the bottle.
Show us this.
Plus 210. Plus 210. In order for this to be alkaline, it should be at least a 1 point negative. This is over 210 points in the opposite direction of what it's being marketed at.
So dumping minerals into something doesn't give it energy back, is the point. You can change something chemically, which is what all these companies do. That's the cheap way, and you know that does work. But that's not affecting the electrical nature of the water.
So the beginning of the presentation, I asked like, who wants more energy? And honestly, ultimately, every time I ask that, most people want more energy, right? And no matter what your age is, I mean, maybe my 7-year-old doesn't need more energy, but everybody in their 20s to, 90s that I've spoken to want more energy. And so ultimately, if you're already drinking water, you can replace the water you're already drinking with this water and get, like Alex said, your base, if you're drinking this, is plus 500. So even if you were to go with the lowest pH on the machine, you're going to get a ton more hydroxyl ions than if you're just drinking anything filtered or not. And so I just wanted to briefly talk about this. Most people think when we talk about this, we're talking about alkaline water. Alkaline water is what's marketed at the store. This is honestly the most scammiest thing there is, because this is already upcharging you 3,000%. This is upcharging you 6,000%. And again, it's just fake water. They're just pretending. I mean, it's like, maybe. So again, it's adding minerals. It's taking acidic water, adding sodium bicarbonate, and then just calling it alkaline water. It's not giving you energy. It doesn't have this electrical charge that Alex is talking about that's coming straight fresh when you guys are drinking it fresh. And again, this machine does not create water that's going to be stabilized on a shelf.
Right.
It lasts, the hydrogen component can last anywhere between 24 and we've seen 72 hours, but the pH will last, but that hydrogen, that H2, that gas is going to start to dissipate because it wants to escape. It wants to actually go.
So this is why we call it living water, because it's alive. It's like something living where you cut it and the nutritional content starts to degrade immediately. Same thing. Because molecular hydrogen is a gas, it will reassociate back into the water or escape as a gas if it's not totally in the water. But the highest I've tested with a lot of minerals, so a ton of hydrogen content, is 72 hours. And after that, you have great mineral water, but the therapeutic benefits are, for the most part, gone.
And so, this is, I love this picture of what aging looks like on the body, on the inside of the body. It's just, rapid deterioration. The cells aren't getting the energy that they need. So there's missing voltage, and then it starts to...
Think grape turning into a raisin.
Yeah.
Basically.
I believe that my skin, I think I look younger than I did 4 years ago. And again, I want he was looking at pictures like, oh, ew, my face was puffy. Like, I don't even know. I didn't even drink back then, but when I did, it was even worse. I just think that, a lot of people, athletes, there's a ton of athletes using this and celebrities, but they call it the fountain of youth. And I truly believe there's a reason why they call it that, because it's reducing oxidative stress, which again, if you don't want to turn into a raisin as you get older, stay hydrated, right? Keep the skin, keep the internal body hydrated. This is just a nice picture showing you what free radicals do, or what antioxidants do to balance that cell. And then when we talk about absorption, this is a big, big piece of the puzzle, right? It's not about how much water you drink, it's about how much water you absorb. And so when you're taking water Wilmington tap water and running it through the ionizer device, it's giving you actually much more molecules per cluster. So I've heard it said much more.
Other way. So
Clusters.
it's reducing the amount of, it's making a smaller, more bioavailable cluster. So your body processes H2O one at a time. It's just how fast it can strip it off through that aquaporin that I was mentioning. And structured water is the new word. If you start looking at water on the internet, everyone has a structured water device. And it doesn't mean it. It's kind of like the word natural on food packaging. There's zero objective meaning behind it. Restructured water simply means we took bulk tap water, which came through 90-degree angles in the infrastructure, and with electricity, split them apart and restructured them. And that changes the surface tension. One of the tests that we usually do is the tea bag test. We take a little Lipton tea bag and you dunk it in, and you see how quickly, without heat, it penetrates the tea bag and you can make tea. And that's how much the water molecules can penetrate and permeate and get into your small intestine and absorb. How quickly can that happen? So that's what we mean by restructured, is it actually shrinks the amount of water molecules in a cluster so they can absorb faster. And the higher pH, Andrew Huberman did a good podcast on this. He got a lot of stuff wrong because it's very nuanced, but the thing that the data does point to, a lot of people will be like, pH doesn't do anything. Higher pH doesn't have any direct health consequence, but it does let the water get out of your gut faster. Meaning, as we increase the pH, you get molecular hydrogen, which is a therapeutic agent, and it absorbs faster, and then it absorbs faster into your cell because it's a smaller cluster.
So, lots of people who drink this don't have to use. I don't have to use the restroom as much as drinking bulk water, which is why lots of athletes are using this. Because let's say you're, a soccer player and you drink a liter of water and then you go out on the field. If it's a liter of bulk water, that's probably sloshing around in your belly and it's going to weigh you down. It's not going to feel good. Whereas this water is going to instantly absorb into the bloodstream.
Ooh. What structured water does mean, does anyone know Gerald Pollack, Dr. Gerald Pollack? He found structured water decades ago, and it's the storage form of water in your body. It's called exclusion zone water. It's a gel. It's the fourth phase of water, which people still don't like to acknowledge exists, but it's a gel. It's actually a battery, and it's H3O2. So it's a different structure entirely, and that's how your body stores it, and it packages contaminants away from the actual water. So your body will do the filtration, or you can just do the filtration for your body and not overwhelm it. But if you hear structured water, that's what structured water means, and what most people mean when they say it is restructured somehow. We took bulk tap water, which, yeah, like you said, if you just run after you drink it, you'll feel it sloshing around. Or if usually within 10 or 15 minutes or even faster of drinking this, you won't have that feeling because it's so much easier absorbed.
One of my favorite tests to show people is their own blood. So we have people come in and they take a little test of their blood before they start drinking this and after. And here's just some scans. Again, these are a little bit blurry, blown up. But again, I've seen this with my own body. When we give the body ionized, molecular hydrogen water, the cells start to dance. Like literally how I feel, the cells are dancing in the inside. So it's just nice to see like a really zoned in picture.
If you look up just on PubMed, electrolyzed reduced water, and that's it, the top studies you'll find, one of them is on viscosity, so think like oil. How sticky is your blood? And that's what that picture was showing you, is it kind of makes your blood platelets spread out a little bit, so there's better blood flow. It has a ton of effects on blood pressure. One of the top studies is actually on SARS-CoV-2, which people who pointed that out online got immediately taken down, but it was basically just that it inhibited it. It was like the number 3 study on viruses in general. Viruses really don't like electrolyzed reduced water.
And then time. One of the biggest things when we're saving money with not having to buy these products, so we go to run to the store, is time, right? We're not having to go to the store anymore to buy 90 products that we now get to make at home. And so, one of the things that I didn't even realize when I purchased this device is that it comes with a patented business plan. And so one of the things I just wanted to mention is that I have spent the last year and a half really learning how to offer this offline like this and then online. What I see now, 2024, is that most people, on average, most people are spending 5 hours on their phone or more. Is that time? Are you getting anything? Or are you just scrolling and what my mentor calls it is infobesity, just more information, right? It's like, just like consume. One of the things that I've learned and what I've been teaching a lot of our business partners is how to utilize that time spent online to actually make money. Because at the end of the day, it's 2024, every single person's income, if it's gone up, great, you're probably good. But if it hasn't, like most of the population, your bills have gone up and you're feeling it. And so one of the things that I believe is not only this water is going to be part of the future, but also getting people to learn how to work online and to share something that makes them feel good and also helps other people feel good. So we've taken that time component out of this. You can please go and do your own research if you want, or you can just trust Alex and I, who, like you said, he's a data lover. I spent 7 years researching water before I invested in this technology. Like I said, my son, when my son was born almost 8 years ago, I was bathing him and I looked up the water that I was bathing him in, and it basically said all the things that you guys just saw that EWG said. Cancer. I'm like, my 1-day-old is being bathed in water that all of these side effects are cancer. Like, how could I possibly do this? So that's what started the research. So again, Alex and I both, he's done his own research. Believe me, he wasn't an easy sell. He's very specific, needs a lot of information kind of person, which is fine. We love that, right? But again, we've done so much of the research. So please, if you want to, go out and do your own research, but you can also trust us and save yourself some time.
Or you don't have to. You can just go with the certifications. That's why we went with the products with the certifications. So it's been tested for 50 years. So part of the reason we paired those with, they're the only water companies that have been around 50 years. So the technology is really bulletproof.
And the Japanese know a little bit something about health, because they are the #1 country in the world that lives to be over 100 without disease. So I stopped really learning from American health people. And I did. When I was learning about health and looking at longevity, I really want to live a long life without disease, right? Who doesn't want to live a long life without disease? So this is Oshiro. He's the owner of Enagic. He just turned 83 last weekend, and this guy is on fire. Like, he's got so much energy. I've met him now 3 times, and he just looks like he's 45 years old. So I mean, again, he's been drinking this for 50 years.
He's also Japanese, so it helps a little bit.
But one of the biggest things about him is that it's not just, making money. It's really about getting people to have better quality health, better quality peace of mind, and then community and connection and wealth. So I believe this is why he created an absolutely amazing business model. But, we can teach you how to get 100% of your machine and multi-pure as a write-off.
Tax write-offs are nice. Yeah.
Whether you decide to do the business or not, I absolutely love tax write-offs, because again, I'm putting the money that I'm saving on my taxes because of my small business back into my local community. What are we doing? We're getting these into, nurseries, children's schools, and old folks' homes. So these are the products blown up on the screen. Like I said, this is the multi-pure, this is the Kangen machine, and that is the NSF spa, which I just wanted to mention. It is an Enagic device for your shower. So it's going to filter the water and remineralize it all in one mechanism here. It has a shower head and a bath filler, so it's all in one. It's super easy. I literally You wouldn't believe it, but Alex and I both travel the world with those two devices. They fit in a carry-on. Mine have been on 35 airplanes. I've hooked it up in about 6 different countries, and they're very easy to travel with. They can be moved around, as well as the NSF. These things are just, they're versatile. I mean, they're incredibly versatile, but it's just necessary. Like, I even came here, I'm like, should I bring my NSF so that you can try it out? Because I'm just like, can I live without it for 3 days? I mean, my hair can't.
There's 3 different stones in it. There's from the Futamata hot springs in Japan, there's a remineralizer, there's a magnet, so there's a restructure, and a pH specific one. So it gives you, like, Hot Springs, North Carolina, 45 minutes from Asheville, has natural mineral hot springs. It gives you that without having to be around natural mineral hot springs, except that water is objectively better than the natural hot springs, which has contaminants in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Isn't that so? My Airbnb is like 20 minutes outside of this hot springs he's talking about, and a lot of people come and they're like, we have a hot tub, it's filled with this, and they're like, this is even better than this $150 I just spent on 20 minutes at that spa down the road. This is actually my mom, Lori. She had coronary artery disease, hyperthyroidism. She's on so many medications, thyroid medication, cholesterol medication, blood pressure medication. She has been sick every winter of my entire life. Hospitalized, bronchitis, you name it, all the lung stuff. I bought her machine January 2020. My mom has not been to the hospital from any lung condition since then. Knock on some wood. But I mean, guys, you can't tell me there's a price tag for keeping my mom out of hospital. You can't tell me there's a price tag for lowering my mom's weight. And you know, my mom, she's only 60 years old, but she's like literally the health conditions of an 80-some-year-old. So at the end of the day, this product has helped her and so many people in my family. There's countless testimonies of women. I'm also a birth worker. I work with lots of moms. I've helped so many moms breastfeed for the first time. They were buying all of this, huge bottles of this one woman specifically. She was buying $380 worth of Essentia a month so she could breastfeed. No milk came out. She filled those same gallons with our 9.5, and she was able to leave that day with over 5 ounces of breast milk from both boobs, which again, if you've ever done that, is very frustrating if you cannot feed your baby. So I just think this has helped so many people personally. This is sort of just like a patented compensation plan we have with the Magic. You can just see the numbers. There's no stocking, there's no monthly qualifications, there's no deranking, there's no annual and renewal. Again, these are products you're going to buy, they're going to last for 25 years. And absolutely, I mean, the filter could actually probably last longer. There's nothing on there that's going to be outdated. But the technology part in this, there are machines, and Magic has 5 machines right now. If you went to our website, they're just older technology. And you know, the flagship model is about 32 years old in technology now. Like we said, the company is 50 years old. So this one is about 8 years old in technology, and it is the #1 machine on the market. There's nothing else that compares to the 8 plates, the electricity, the voltage, the amount of molecular hydrogen that's being produced.
Yeah, most of the time people care about how convenient is it, right? How much do I have to form a new habit around this, or does this slip into my daily lifestyle? Can I clean it? How difficult is it to clean? Is it a pain to maintain? So the reason that we go with this one is just because it's the easiest, it's the most therapeutic gas for 25 plus years, and it's very easy to clean. So it hits all of the major boxes, and they do make other cheaper ones, but at some point, like 3 years down the road, we have people who get some of the cheaper ones and they're like, I should have just bought the one because I'm getting tired of cleaning this. So you pay for upfront convenience, essentially.
Yeah, I've only mostly sold the Kate model. The 3 people that bought the $1,000 cheaper model, said within the first month, I wish I would have bought the K8. It's just so much easier. It's a touch screen. If you have a phone, you can easily maneuver it. And again, like if you guys want to come up and get close to it, you can see there's settings here. So if you want to change the pH, you want to, you know, check your filter life, you can check right there. It's just much nicer than our other models are all more manual. They don't have that technology added part. So what questions do you guys have? More questions, the better. Small group. I mean, I know we went over a ton of information. You guys have been sitting a while, but, you know, really want to serve you guys. So what do you
care about?
want to know?
Filtration, contaminants, electrical, health. Any major ones?
Are those tubes plastic or rubber?
These ones, they're rubber.
Oh, they're rubber.
Yeah.
But
A specific type of rubber.
that
Yeah.
box that does the ionization.
This one?
Yeah. That
The white is plastic. Yeah. Yeah, just because they have to be able to replace it. They make a couple of more sturdy metal ones. They're not necessarily better. Anything that water touches is medical grade, but yeah, this is not metal.
I guess,
Thankfully.
yeah, my question is because of all the plastic bottled water, what's
Right.
the difference between, you said it's medical grade, I'm sure it sounds like it's safer.
Well, the water is not touching this.
Oh, it's not?
No. So
Okay.
this is just the casing. So on the inside, there's, a container.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just for the outside.
Got
Right,
it.
that would defeat the point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, and there's various categories of plastic which get overwhelming, and there's 10 different types of food grade plastic, but yeah, the water is not in contact with this white.
And it sits on like the counter?
Just like this.
Okay.
Yeah, or Michelle has hers underneath, so they make
Oh, so you can put it in.
yeah, so basically you can do whatever you want if you have a faucet. So the water comes out of this, but you can put this under your sink, and they make faucets, a company called Ion Faucets, that you basically just hook the hoses up, and they have a faucet that has a lever with two different spouts, one for the alkaline stream, the drinking water, and one for the acid. Because you always have two streams of water since it's splitting the water molecule. So you can do however you want with this, but if you're going to be using all the settings, most people only use the 9.5, which is the actual drinking water. You can adjust the settings. It has a 9.0 and an 8.5 for tea and cooking. Those are different surface tension, so your water will boil faster. It does interesting things to food, molecular gastronomy. Chefs are interested in, just because it's playing with the surface tension and the way water interacts. If you're using all the buttons, it's nice to have it up top. If you just use the drinking water and maybe the 7.0, sometimes you can put it under the sink.
Do they make any for like bottles for water?
No, because good question.
Yeah.
They don't even make filtration that gets down to the level of drinking water for a whole home, because you can't get the amount of flow rate and the pressure to stay what you need to pressurize a whole house with filtering. I mentioned a certification, NSF 401, pesticides, herbicides, all the new stuff. You can't get down to the 0.5, less than 0.5 micron filtration while keeping a whole house it's just a volume issue. Same reason why municipalities can't filter down as much as we'd like to. There's too much water. They will probably in like 5 or 10 years. Usually the way people do it is we just have people get a normal, good, regular softener and then filter your shower and sink. Because usually washing machine doesn't matter that much, and washing dishes, the chlorine usually off gases, but it'll be there eventually, but the technology isn't there with any company that I found yet. Some of them are getting close, but they're also like 40 grand.
Yeah. My sister and I went through this. She lives in Southern California, and she's now on her third $7,000 device, and it's not removing anything. So she's had 3 companies come out, install, pay all this money, and now I told her, spend $800 on the test. That way you can show them that their product isn't working. And we've done it 3 times now. She just told me it's still not working. So whole home filtration is, like you said, it's the volume. And do you really need like clean toilet water? Probably not. I have a softener on my home. So I do believe if you own your own home, definitely invest in a softener. It's, it's gonna, again, it's came with my home. So it was, when I walked in the house to look at it, I'm like, oh, these people cared about water. I just wanted to show you guys briefly how Alex was just kind of talking about how it's set up. So this is set up in my tiny home. There's the multi-pier hooked up under the sink, and then yeah,
It's actually really easy plumbing. I'm not a plumber, and I just hooked this up in about 15 minutes.
so again, there's that little ionizer faucet that connects underneath. So yeah, it sits on the countertop, but again, I use this so much.
If you use it a lot and you change the buttons, it's nice to have it right there, especially if you're collecting the drain water to use. So like we said, if you're getting high alkaline water from the drinking hose, the other side is always going to be the opposite. pH scale is 0 to 14. So if you're producing 9.5 drinking water, you'll get 4.5 out of the other side, which you can use for cleaning windows. If you want to actually be sustainable about it, a lot of people just let it go down the sink, obviously, but you can connect it however you want. We have a connection method for about everything. Yeah. Yeah, some people want it out of the way, out of sight, because they have a really nice countertop like Michelle, and I don't, so I don't care, and it just goes on the top of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's very streamlined.
Yeah.
Itself. But yeah,
And then we've made a lot of guides to help you, because like we said, you know, there's 100 different uses for this technology. So the way that we know we're going to get you to save the most money is if you use it for all the uses other than the drinking water.
Yeah.
So we've got a whole remedies guide that I just wanted to share. Like, it's, you know, skin here, it's broken down so you guys can easily access this stuff. You can print it out, have it on your phone. We've got a cleaning guide. So again, it's going to teach you exactly what how to make each product, what to use for each room, laundry, floor, bathroom. And then does anybody in the room have pets? You have pets. So we have a whole pet guide. Again, grooming. Pets love this water.
You'll
we do
notice
tests all the
changes to the
time.
hair. It's weird.
A lot less shedding.
Shine, sheen, and shedding. Yeah, weird things happen to the hair.
And we do lots of tests where we give the dog options. Just so we see, right? If it's a gimmick, the dog wouldn't choose the Kangen, right? It would go to the tap, but it always chooses the Kangen. Just like our plants. Like when we do tests, because a lot of times we do tests with our kids, we test the 9.5, the 6.0, and the just basic our water on these plants. And our plants, actually, most of them really, really love the hydrogen or the 6.0. It just depends on what type of plant we're growing. So we have a ton of resources just to help you get it obviously installed, but also how do I use it? If you could see in my tiny home video, I have a picture on there, a sticker on the machine that shows you each pH. So if you're like you have it on your countertop and you just wanted a quick guide, because again, what's been the most interesting thing is the last 5 people who've purchased this from me in the last month have told me, you said I was going to use it for these things, but I didn't realize how much money I was going to save, because again, the one woman I'm talking about specifically, she has 5 children and her oldest has asthma. So now they have him using the 2.5 hypochlorous acid in a nebulizer. And she said every spring for his entire life, the last 7 years, he's been hospitalized from his asthma and no issues thus far. So again, we're trying to get people to look at it as like, this is a first aid kit on my countertop. We call it abundance on tap. Our other business partner calls it an ATM because, you do the business, technically it can print some money for you. So we just really want people to actually utilize the benefits of it, the whole thing, and get, save a ton of money. So
most people know someone that's sick with some specific things. We also have a guide by disease condition with all the studies there. If someone's like, does it work on Parkinson's or rheumatoid arthritis or this or this? So we have one broken down with all the studies regarding condition too,
Yeah, I mean,
which is
there's
probably
just
the most common one.
so much information. It's overwhelming, honestly, but we've tried to make it so that you can have access to, you know, like if you need, how do you get this written off on your taxes? How do I, you know, do the business? How do I help a friend get this? What do I need to do if somebody has cancer? All these questions someone's already asked and they're answered somewhere. We just help you navigate where to find the information. So
Any other questions? What's that?
Do you have to clean or?
Not unless they snap usually, but they have them on their store and they're pretty cheap. Yeah, it's a non-degrading form, and technically it should be very clean water running through them. So there's nothing ever stagnant or that gets to grow. I've never seen any mold buildup on the inside. She was just taking apart a dehumidifier or a
oh my God.
humidifier yesterday, and it was a nightmare because people who design things with water are really bad sometimes. They're like, hey, how do I prevent mold from going inside this?
Seriously.
Yeah. The other nice thing about that is electrical. So if you have electricity going, it inhibits a lot of things from growing in it.
And that one thing we didn't mention is our company is the only company that allows you to send it in for a deep cleaning. So there's 4 places in our country. We're closest to Florida here. You would just ship it to Florida, the Orlando office, and they will take the whole thing apart, deep clean it, and send it back for $40. So we recommend if you're on city water that you do that at least once a year. Again, like, you don't have to, but just like
it'd be like if Apple gave the option to send in a new MacBook and they'd rip it apart and restore it to factory condition for $40. That's why they can last 25 years, because they stay very clean.
They're very,
Yeah.
They just really want you to make sure that you're getting the most out of the machine.
Yeah.